Hey, it is Monday, June 8th, and this is the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. We're on YouTube, so make sure to subscribe, follow us on SoundCloud, and support us on Patreon. Today we'll get some coronavirus updates. The next possible epicenter looks like it could be Brazil, and a look into the Sunday message about giving thanks and loving the Trinity. So, how are you guys doing? It is a wonderful Monday, and I'm sure that a lot of you are just looking forward to another week of work, right? All right. Well, either way, I hope you guys had a nice weekend. I know so many things were going on. On Thursday, we had a bubble talk, and we talked about how to start something new. So go and check it out on the Espresso with Sky YouTube channel. Of course, Tuesday also we have the Lockdown Tuesdays, which is probably going to go on for a bit longer because Malaysia just came out with the new MCO. I think it's called the Restoring MCO. So it's all the way to August 31st, but it's much, much more lenient than it was before. So go ahead, check those two out. Last week we looked at the story of Samson, I believe. Yeah, I think it was the story of Samson. All right, so we definitely encourage all of you to check out the live Bubble Talks and the live Lockdown Tuesday. They're both on Tuesday, Thursday at 8 p.m. Malaysia time, and they're all live streaming on both YouTube and Facebook. Now, yesterday was the Sunday edition, and we interviewed a member from America. It's Preston Lewis. He's currently an educator, former church rep, and he'll be going to Korea to train as a head leader. So make sure you check it out on the Sunday edition. Well, interestingly, the last two Sunday editions have been the most watched, like in the first day, like by far. They're so far ahead of everyone else. Like Sujung is like I said last week, she went MSD viral. Like she's over 400 views and whatever not in like a week. And Preston is like just right underneath her in that when it comes to views. So go check those two out from the last 2 weeks. And there's tons of other ones that are really, really good too. Go check it out. We got 12 of them up already. Big shout out to the Golden City Brides. For our Patreon supporters, we have Christine Angulo, we have Tim Tavernetti, and Tony and Maria Perillo in America supporting us on Patreon. If you want to support us too, then click the Patreon link in the description. And if you're on SoundCloud, click the blue button on my homepage. So let's move on to the featured artist of the day. Well, it's actually official. The Somni Boys album is out. It came out 2 a.m. this morning in Malaysia. So it was 1 p.m. in Central Standard Time in America, but it's 2 a.m. here in Malaysia, so it's already out. So go check it out. Tales of a Longing Heart. We played the sneak peeks the last was it Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So we all got the sneak peek here. So that's why we're going to play another Somni Boys song. From that new album. It's one of my favorite songs right now, the debut single from the new album called Nothing Could Go Wrong. We're going to listen to that one first. And the second song is from Francis Han in New York, and we're going to hear a single from his debut album, Before Dawn. And this song called Morning Star, and just like our MSD, Morning Star Drive, right? This song is inspired by this history. And it was inspired by certain musicians that Francis is kind of inspired by. So there's Michael Jackson's song, I Just Can't Stop Loving You. There's one song he was inspired by, and also from another song in the Pride and Prejudice soundtrack, or I think it's a score, and it's called Liz on Top of the World. So we're going to listen to those two songs. It's the Somni Boys from their new album, Tales of a Longing Heart, Nothing Could Go Wrong, and Francis Han with his debut album, his jazz debut album, Before Dawn, and that song is going to be Morning Star. So let's just listen up and just enjoy this time. All right.
This could be a fast life, a short life, depending how you living. Nothing could go wrong if I'm with you, it's so fulfilling. And if you keep the time, really God walks with you. Not even just walks with you, he will even talk with you. That is right. Been feeling life is different, everything depends on me. And having my own thoughts, that's really a test to me. The more I make myself, the more valuable I become. I have to take action, that's the final outcome. How could I ever forget the moments that we spent together? It's those past memories that will put you together. It's what you do after the mess up that counts. I give glory and thanks even in times of doubt. Don't just say you have the heart but don't do it. You say you want, you gotta show him and prove it. You have to be a life the Lord really remembers. Don't just walk around for no reason, do better.
Be a woman, show me take action. My words are always with
this race. I have to get my mind straight so I can become great. The time I have now, I really must cherish. It could be gone at any moment, it really just vanish. I know it's been a while since I sat and even wrote a song. I wonder if my words sound good or even flow at all, and how I wanna share your words to the entire world. Alright, I'm sorry, let me fix myself. If I think of you, I know I will do well. It's times like these, I know I will prevail. Yeah. Don't just say you have the heart, but don't do it. You say you won, you gotta show him and prove it. You have to be a life the Lord really remembers. Yeah. Nothing could go wrong if we do it together.
And that was Morning Star, and that was from Francis Han for his first debut album, jazz album called Before Dawn. And that first song was also from the Somni Boys' new album, Tales of a Longing Heart. And that song was Nothing Could Go Wrong, one of my favorites so far of the new album, and maybe even of all time for all their songs. I really like that mellow sound too. So let's go into some of the coronavirus updates at the moment. We've crossed two milestones over the weekend. We've crossed the 7 million case mark, so we're at 7 million cases, and we've crossed the 400,000 death mark, so we're at 403,000 deaths. Good thing is the mortality rate keeps going down. We're down to 5.74%, which is a really, really good thing. The U.S. at the moment is like right on the edge of 2 million cases. They're at 1.99 million cases, 112,000 deaths, and their mortality rate is going down too. It's at 5.63%. And more than likely, we're going to see all these mortality rates go down. Of course, the country that's in second, Brazil, is still going up at the moment, but the mortality rate is still going down, which is very interesting. So Brazil's at 676,000 cases. Yeah, they're going up pretty fast because they're already like 200,000 over Russia now, and yeah, they're the fastest growing in cases, and they have 36,000 deaths, and they're at 5.33%. So they went down too. Russia's at 467,000 cases with 5,800 deaths at 1.25%. UK 285,000 cases. So you got to think about this. UK started way before like these other countries, right? They started way before with this coronavirus, and they're already on the downswing. But they're only at 285,000 cases, where Brazil's at 676,000. That just came out of nowhere. And the UK has the second most deaths at 40,000. And Brazil's just right on their tail at 36,000, right? The UK is still at 14.2%. India's at 250,000 cases, which is really high. Is growing pretty rapidly with 7,000 deaths at 2.8%. Peru, very similar, 192,000 cases, 5,300 deaths at 2.8%. Mexico, one of the fastest growing countries too, with even more mortality, is at 114,000 cases with 13,500 deaths. So this is a lot. 11.9%, so they're going up. Sweden going down even more. They fall under 11%, and it's actually a dramatic drop. It's like over a half a percentage down. 45,000 cases, 4,700 deaths, 10.42%. So now they're under 11%, right? And remember what we saw just over the before the weekend. They're hovering at 11%, and they're down to 10.42%. So looks like everything is going well over there too. Belgium also the highest mortality rate in the world, and their rate went down too to 16.2%. Now, interesting things. We're looking at the countries with the largest increase in cases, and once again, all for the last 5 days, it's been Brazil. Brazil's got like almost 28,000 cases just yesterday. They're at a 4% increase. The U.S. is number 2, of course, at around 22,800, about 23,000 cases, and they're still at 1%. They're growing 1%. So far, the protests haven't really done anything big, but a lot of the governors are urging the people who went out to protest to get checked for the coronavirus. India, they're now hitting 10,000 cases a day, which is quite interesting. They're at 4%. And then Russia has dropped to 4th. They were in 3rd, but now India's taken over, and Russia's only growing at a 2% rate with about 8,900 cases around there. And then, of course, for the top 6, you have Chile and Pakistan. That's also there, too. Now, in Southeast Asia, like I said to you guys before, they just had an announcement yesterday evening, and the MCO, like the conditional MCO, is going to stop on the 9th, right? So that's going to be tomorrow, Tuesday. But on the 10th, they're going to start something called the recovery MCO, and it's almost like everything is open, but people can travel inside the country, but they can't travel outside of it. So there's one thing that they still can't do, and you can't have mass gatherings like at churches and stuff like that. Also, you can have small gatherings. So that's going to go all the way to August 31st. So we'll see what happens after that. But Malaysia's been doing pretty well. They're at around 8,300 cases, and I think they're like at 100 deaths. It's something really, really low. Like they're only gaining like less than 50 cases a day. So it's very, very controlled. Indonesia, of course, India is the highest by far. They're at 250,000. But when you look at Indonesia and Singapore, they are both very, very high, but not very. They're very high, but the increasing rate, like the rate of growth for cases, like 1 or 2%. So it's actually not too bad. And for the Philippines, I know Melanie's been asking about this over there in New Zealand. She wants to know how her home country's doing. They got about 21 to 22,000 cases, and they're running. Well, they hit a milestone in the Philippines. About 1,000 people, over 1,000 people have died in the Philippines right now. So that's not a very, very good thing. But it just seems like all over, just Southeast Asia in general, it's pretty tame. It is pretty tame when you look at how things are going. I think the highest mortality rate in Southeast Asia is Indonesia at this time, and even then they said that you can't even the numbers that were given they're undercounted. So they said that the healthcare system we'll do an entire focus on Indonesia probably tomorrow or Wednesday, but it seems like their healthcare system has been overrun a lot. So it's something that we have to take into consideration, make sure we keep Indonesia in our prayers here in Southeast Asia. So let's go into the current news. And we said that there could be a new epicenter in Brazil. And it's because, Brazil, just out of nowhere, they're getting close to like 750,000 cases. If you think about that, that's just huge. If you think about that, right? So Brazil, they're next to the U.S. and of course the U.S. is way above everyone else, but of course their population is way higher too. But Brazil's almost got 700,000 cases, 36,000 deaths. They're third in deaths, and at the moment, the good thing about Brazil so far is that the mortality rate's going down. And if you want to we'll take a focus on Brazil today. And those of you who don't know, Brazil is, they have a every week they have anti-lockdown protests. So it's kind of like they're being influenced by America a lot too. So it's very noisy, it's very raucous, very defined. I was watching the videos on it. They are faithful supporters. They're coming out in thousands and droves. They don't care about, well, it's not they don't care, but they don't think it's as serious as it really is. So they're kind of ignoring the coronavirus, and the capital city is just packed with protesters because they love the president right now. Even though they're in lockdown, they want to get out of the lockdown, and the president doesn't have the power to get them out of it. But the president is very vocal that it's not a very good thing. If you think about it, Brazil at the moment is almost 30,000 cases a day, right? Almost 30,000 cases a day. And a lot of the people are just refusing to believe that there needs to be a lockdown. The president, interesting thing is the president, very defiant, right? His hero is Trump. He says Trump is his hero, right? Someone who can stand up against the masses and say what is right or what he truly believes. So that's why a lot of the supporters are calling him a legend, and he has a lot of adoring fans. It's really interesting, and no one really wears masks unless it has his picture on it. They are now one of the worst hit coronavirus countries in the world. Right now, they're second, and they're second in cases, and they're gonna take over UK in deaths too pretty soon. And there was some interviews with the supporters of the president who want to get out of the lockdown, and none of them deny the virus, right? So none of them deny the virus, but they are saying that it's not as serious as a need to shut down the entire country. So it's very interesting because it's following. It looks like it's following a similar pattern as America, right? So there's a huge divide also in Brazil too. Those that support the president and those who want the lockdown, and those who support like the safe. Right, the other parts of the government. So it's almost exactly like America. So people are very, very nervous about opening up again, except for those that support the president. But the thing that everyone needs to know is the economy is tanking right now, and they say this is the first time ever the industrial production has gone down 19%, which is the biggest drop ever. Industrial production went down 19%. Right, so the president right now, he can't stop it, but he's vocal about going against the lockdown measures, and even though cases are still on the rise, they say that Brazil has not even reached their peak yet, and it's pretty bad right now. The things that are going well is they're testing a lot more people, and people are going into the favelas, the kind of the poor neighborhoods where it's like people's very, very packed. So they're going in there trying to figure out how to test more of these people so they can go to work and such. However, there's no work. A lot of people are getting fired or laid off or furloughed from their jobs. And the virus is actually hitting the poor areas the most. And the reason these favelas are I don't know how to pronounce it with that Spanish. It's Portuguese, I think, right? Favelas. And basically, they need food, they need hygiene kits, they need money, they just need a lot of stuff because it's being hit the most because several things are happening. Number one is these favelas, they are like people are living right on top of each other. It's very, very close quarters. The alleys where you have these alleys are very, very narrow, like 1 to 2 meters. And schools are closed, so now the kids are all staying there, so it's even more packed. And the kids can't eat now because usually in schools there's free meals, but there's no school anymore. And in these favelas, they say the women have they have roughly around 4 to 5 children each. And there's no social distancing because it's so packed together. And that's why it's very serious over there. A lot of people are, especially these poor areas, are being affected by the coronavirus. People are being laid off. They have nothing to support their families. Just everyone's going through a very difficult time in Brazil. So it's difficult. And what I'm saying is I'm going to take both sides. It's kind of like how America is. There's two sides. One is, yes, it's the safety of the people, but yet it is about the safety of the people, because if the economy tanks and these people have no money anyways, it's going to be the same thing. They're just going to die anyways. So it is this crazy like dilemma that all the governments are working with. So, it's a very, very similar situation to America right now in many different ways. But I don't think America is as poor as these areas they have in Brazil. So it's very interesting. They have 36,000 deaths so far, third in the world. They're probably going to hit second pretty soon. They're only 4,000 deaths away, and they haven't even hit their peak, so they're most likely going to hit it. So it's something that we see is very interesting. Protests going on, just like America. Lockdown protests, George Floyd protests. It's just lots of these stuff going on. People... It's interesting because even the media and the government that's against the president, who's that wants to stop the lockdown, it's very similar. Like the media, as in, do you care about life or do you care about the economy and money? And the answer is they're both about people, because, like we said when we went over the stats for America, if once the unemployment rate goes up, for every percentage in America, that's 10,000 deaths, which is crazy. And they went up like 14 points, 15 points, which is like 150,000 people, which is true. It'd be more people dying from the lockdown than people dying from the actual coronavirus. So that is something that we have to kind of take into consideration and not kind of look at it the same way, but take all the information in and say, which one is better? Is it better to die from not working, not having money, not being able to feed your children? When also we know about the coronavirus is it doesn't really affect children very much. And actually, the median age for people who die in the coronavirus, like in America, is 80. That's a median. That's a median age, if you think about that. It's crazy. It doesn't affect young people. Under 60, you're pretty safe, right? So basically, if you shut down the economy, children can die. So that's something that they should take into consideration more than anything else. So that is the current news for today. I hope you guys really enjoyed that section. Kind of eye-opening once again. We're going to go into a praise portion today. And there's two songs. The first one is Let's Go, The Time Has Come. So we can all get up and dance for this one and sing together and praise the Holy Trinity and give thanks to them too. And the second song is a request from Mongolia. Hakumiri is asking for the song Search For Me. So we'll listen to that song second. So the first one is Let's Go, The Time Has Come. And the second song from Hakumiri in Mongolia has requested the song Search For Me.
Come on, time to go now. Heaven's time has arrived now. Heaven is waiting and all those clouds are people too. They waited for this time. Do the right work at the right time. There is a product God has given me. At that instant, don't miss the chance. Don't let time beside you. So always call my name, search for me, even though your eyes cannot see. I am with you, I'm here by your side. You and I, we're united. So always call my name, search for me. I will come to you when you call. For I'm listening to all that you say. As you realize even deeper about my love towards you, you will clearly come to see how much I love you. I have prayed for you and blessed you. I have given my life for you. With your soul try to feel all my love for you. Share your heart, I can hear you. Look up at me, I'm whispering to you. Do not think it's hard anymore. Tell me everything, I'll take care of you. As you realize even deeper about my love towards you, you will clearly come to see how much I love you. I have prayed for you and blessed you. I have given my life for you. With your soul try to feel all my love for you. As you realize even deeper about my love towards you, you will clearly come to see how much I love you. I have prayed for you and blessed you. I have given my life for you. With your soul try to feel all my love for you. Won't you search for me? Won't you search for me? Can you feel it? This is my love. Now I promise to protect you. I will lead you out of darkness. Will you tell me, can't you feel my love for you? I will be your soul and center. I will guide your life forever. When we overcome death, there is only love. When we overcome death, there is only love.
And that is Search for Me, and that was requested from Haklimiri over there in Mongolia. Thank you so much for that request. I'm glad that we've reached out all the way to Mongolia with this podcast, and those of you, feel free to share to any members. Remember, this is a members-only podcast, so I hope that you guys are enjoying this each and every day. And that first song, of course, that we heard was Let's Go, The Time Has Come. All right, so let's get into a section that a lot of us, we're going to the end section where it's more spiritual. We're going to talk about the Word. We're going to talk about people's testimonies and stories. So let's get into the first one, which is the Word for today. And it's very interesting because this week's message is give thanks and love the Trinity who truly protected your life. And great message. And I didn't know this, but it was actually Memorial Day in Korea. It's very interesting because I had no clue it was Memorial Day because I don't know the holidays in Korea. I'm not very Korean because I'm from Canada, and I only know like the Canadian ones, and I even forgot the Canadian ones because I've been in America so long. So the Memorial Day was in Korea, a good message, a great message, and it allows us to think about how much God has protected us, not just directly in our own lives right now, but also, like in the message, it's about being protected from the Vietnam War, but also talking about being able to win so that South Korea wouldn't be taken over by communism, and then it wouldn't be like the central nation, and how religious a nation is, and how thankful we have to be that it went in that direction. So it's a good concept that all of us have to think about. One of the concepts that was really interesting that talks about the war, right, of communism, of the North Korea and South Korea, that big war they had. And the interesting concept that was brought up in the message was about whoever kills more people wins. And it was very interesting because, it's like, oh, North Korea can't, they can't, even if they had more deaths, they wouldn't admit it because then it would show that they lost. And interestingly enough, when you look at, like from long time ago, Sunseem's talked about this, is about the war, like World War III is the war of ideologies, right? It's like winning the heart and winning the mind. Like you had World War I was the battle for land. World War II, World War II was a battle of ideologies, and then of course World War III is like the battle of the heart, right? The battle of conquering people's minds. And if you look at it, that's what's actually happening these days. Like even if you think about it, even let's just say that communism, like North Korea, lost, right? Let's say North Korea won, and then South Korea became communist. Even if they lost more people, but they brought communism to South Korea, they'd still say they win, right? Because it would be the battle of ideologies. It would be like communism versus democracy, because on that side you'd have like China and Russia, and then here was America fighting for democracy with South Korea. And if you really think about it, in the end, it really is about ideologies. Communism will only win if they bring communism to the South, right? North Korea to South Korea. And the South was basically defending its right to be free from communism. So this democracy is not about conquering other lands, like conquering them and then they must become democratic. Is people have a choice, that they have a choice to be democratic. But communism is more of like, we're forcing you to be communist. We're going to take over and you're going to do exactly what we say. So when you look at the communist model, like even look at China, they're trying to put their rule on other people, like on Hong Kong, on Taiwan. They're trying to rule over Africa by putting them into debt. It's all about conquering still, which is a very, very old ideology. And everyone else is just basically defending their right to live freely from the communist ideologies. Like they don't want it, but it's being forced upon them. And in the end, it's not about how many die. It's about who wins. That's technically what it is, right? It's who wins in ideology, who wins in thought, who conquers the heart, who conquers the mind. So this made me think a lot about what's happening in this world today, right? This is all stemming from the Sunday messages. It's really weird, not weird, but how deep my mind went into. Like in this world today, it's very, very interesting, the ideological battles that are going on about how to think, what you can think, what you're allowed to do, what you can't do. It's all over the world. Right? Because if you look at even right now, we were talking before, China versus Hong Kong, China versus Taiwan, the battle of, the ideologies of being free or not. No, you'll be conquered by the Chinese. You are Chinese. You are part of us. And we must rule over you. That's what happened in Hong Kong, right? It's basically they just took over. Like there's not even a vote. The last treaty they had was supposed to be till 2047. And yet they just took over without, we voted over there in China, but but we're supposed to be two separate systems. And then now U.S. is coming into the mix saying, hey, you guys got to give them their freedom. That's what everyone agreed on. And then also there's another one when it comes to like China and like countries like Africa, like the continent of Africa. They're controlling Africa through money. So they can impose their thoughts on other countries and make them do what they want. I'll give you an example of it. So WHO and the UN, they have voting systems, right? So China is basically lending so much money to Africa, so they're in debt. But they're telling them, hey, we'll take some of the debt off if you vote for what we want. So they're paying tons of money to African countries to receive a vote in the WHO or UN to get their way, right? So you see, there's another one. The money is not even the important thing. The money is to get people to think the way that they want or do things that they want. Even America versus China. defending the right to be free, having liberty instead of being ruled by a government that imposes communist ideas and makes people do what they want. Like the people have no control. They don't want free markets. They don't want free thought. They don't want free religion. But America is exactly the opposite. Well, lately it's coming towards, like turning more towards socialist, right? But that's what's going on. And then if you look even inside America, like politically, it's crazy. The ideologies between Democrats and conservatives, the radical left, the alt-right, what students are learning in school, media and its role in politics and American ideologies, and it has such a great impact on the world stage. It's really interesting because you see how, like we talked about Brazil, they look exactly like America. Like what they're going over. There's such a huge impact that America has to the world, and surprisingly, a lot of it is at the moment. A lot of things are not very positive. It's just not very positive at the moment. Like the things that it's creating or causing. Some things are good, but there's a lot of bad things going on too. Like it's a nation divided. So protests are going on everywhere in the world based on the coverage and media. And sometimes the media is false. Sometimes the media is biased. On both sides, people have no idea what side to believe in. And it's really interesting to watch. Like for me, I used to living in America or in Canada, we'd be in it. But watching from outside the world, it's much more interesting. Like you get to see something from a very unbiased perspective. The world is unfolding, and all of us have heard this from 4 months ago, that this is a judgment that's happening, right? So you got to think about this. Is this judgment? And see, if we go back to the big picture, that this isn't actually a judgment that's happening, that God is going to, judge this country and this, and all the bad stuff's going to come out right now. Think about how crazy it is right now. Like 4 months ago, we never thought something like this would happen. We thought it was just a pandemic. And even then, it wasn't just a pandemic. It was like affecting everyone in economies. And then on top of this pandemic that hasn't even ended yet, like from February until now, there's like locust infestation in Africa, India, and Pakistan. And later I'll tell you how significant these locusts are. Like if you hear about how large just even a medium-sized swarm is, it'll blow your mind. Well, I'll tell you right now, a medium-sized swarm of locusts is the size of Manhattan. And they can eat in one day the same amount of food 35,000 people can eat. That's how crazy these locusts are. So there's a locust infestation going on in Africa, India, and Pakistan. Then this is on top of the pandemic. This is during the same time as a pandemic. We have protests and lockdowns, rioting and looting. We have government corruption. Like even in America, there's like trials going on right now for government corruption of the last presidency and the White House back then. Corporate global organizations that are not corporate, but corrupt global organizations like the WHO. And then we have like inherently evil governments that are causing suffering and pain on a global scale, like the pandemic started from China. Like everything is coming at once. People are confused. People are hurt. People are angry. And if you lose sight of the whole reason for all these things happening, you couldn't get angry and say, it's China's fault, it's this fault, it's this fault. What we see now is this is where we said there's going to be 5 months, and that was the prophecy that came out in Revelations, right? Like, we can't forget that. This is all part of it. Like, you can't get yourself so emotionally or so involved, like, what? Oh my gosh, oh, what about this? No, because we know what's happening. And as people who know, we can't get caught up in it. Right? That makes sense. You can't just focus or get caught up in one thing in one country, because then you miss the entire point. We all know what's going on, and it's not one thing. And the more and more you see how crazy things are going, you'll be like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Like this is literally biblical proportion. Pandemic, the plague of locusts, right? A country divided in itself. You cannot lose sight of the big picture, or else you'll get caught up in just one issue. And you'll completely forget the whole reason. We could actually get judged with this whole situation. What is the greatest thing we can do now? It's the whole thing we've been told to do from the very beginning, is pray. That's everything. It literally is everything. It is the greatest thing you can do right now. There will be nothing greater than this one action. As people of this history, as brides of God who know the Shimjung of the Lord, what is happening, and we knew it was happening from 4 months ago. This prayer is going to be more powerful than lobbying, more powerful than protesting, more powerful than giving money to organizations, more powerful than putting things on social media, more powerful. Do you think there will be any other impact from the brides of God than prayer at this time? We cannot forget the whole reason why everything is happening. You see, one thing, just yesterday I was watching, it's really unsightly and it's just terrible to see what's going on. But I saw a program the other day on YouTube, and it's from a liberal channel, right, from the Democratic Party. Well, not Democratic Party, but it's a liberal that's doing, basically he's doing a talk show. And he had a black ex-police officer on his show, okay? And there's some, it kind of put my mind back into the place it should have been. The thing that really turned my head is here's an ex-police officer, black police officer, okay? And he said the one thing that changed his heart about what's going on, that got rid of his biases and hatred towards other races, like for him it would be the white race, and all this suffering that was happening. And he said the only thing that can change your heart and your mind is God. And he says, it was me coming to God, me coming to Christ, me learning the word, me coming to believe that changed my heart, gave me peace, and helped me to understand what was going on, that I had to do it the right way. He said believing in God and believing in Jesus was the number one thing that changed his heart. And I think we can't lose sight of that either. The most significant thing we can do right now, and the way to change people, is only through the gospel, is through preaching the words of God. Like yesterday, what did Sunsim say? You have to realize how great, how amazing, how important the word of God is. It is the ultimate thing that can change lives and change hearts. Everything will happen, right? Everything happening right now is going to change, whether it's China, America, Australia, Europe, Africa, South America, Southeast Asia, whatever it is, when they finally realize the word of these times. That's the biggest thing. Do you really think you can trust in the government, honestly? Do you really think that things are going to really change that much, like that big? Really? It's not. As long as people don't know God, as long as people don't have the words, they're not. It's not. Don't expect. Like, that's what. One of the interesting things when it talks about the last days. The lecture we teach is like, do you really think? Do you really have that much hope that the ideal world can be made by politics? No, there's no way. The single greatest thing you can do right now at this time is pray. Pray and preach the word. Because like I said before, as Jesus said, a nation divided against itself will crumble. But then yesterday's message said that nation, look at your nation, because that's you. It's you. You have to see the nation as yourself. But how depressing or how saddened would God be that not just the nation, but God's brides and his own church are divided amongst itself? Do you really think God's trying to tear the church apart, or is it Satan coming in? Satan will try to tear your churches apart with different ideologies, different ways of thinking. But we're all in this together. We have to realize the two single most greatest things we can do is, number one is pray, and number two is the word. Whether we learn it ourselves or we preach it to the utmost, there is nothing more powerful and greater than this. So where is your heart? Is your heart really thinking as the head of the Lord, or is your heart super emotional and thinking about taking sides or getting upset about, or thinking, oh, how can this other bride say this? If you ask me who I support, the right answer should be, I support the Holy Trinity and I support the Lord. Why? Because I don't know everything. I take the Lord's side. If you think that this sounds like a total cop-out, then you need to check your heart. Because the one thing God says, in yesterday's message, God heals through the word. Right? The last thing that really shook me from the word yesterday was, like it said, Jonah. Jonah completely disobeyed God's word, ran away, went through hardships, winds, rainstorms, sufferings before he ended up listening. And he said, first, the message was about those who left and came back. But then he said, it's also about you in this history. Do you not realize the power of the word? Has your heart turned towards the worries and the issues of the world, and you don't see the word and the answer anymore? Because right now, there are so many things happening, you can get lost in all these issues. But if you start thinking about them, getting so deep into every single one of them, you'll get lost. It's too much for you. You got to pray. Pray for them. Get into it to learn how to pray for the situation. Don't get into it to try to change it. Why? Because you can't. This is something only God can change. Pray. You got to unite more than anything else. You cannot be the cause to split churches. And why am I saying this? Is because people are either fighting on the outside or the inside. Or people are thinking bad things about one people or the other. That's what life is, right? Well, it's not what life is. This is what the world does. We can't be like that. And we have to be the ones that once again see the big picture. We already knew something like this was going to happen from 4 months ago. I'm sorry, we already knew. And if you lost that in your head, you're going to start getting too into things that you shouldn't be getting into. And we have to be those that understand how brides and how people of God fix and solve these situations. What does Sunsteam do? Sunsteam's not going to go into Europe and fix the economy. He's not going in. He's not going to go to South America to fix it either. He's not going to go into America to fix the politics or whatever it is. Or injustice. He's not going to go in there. It's prayer. That's what he said, right? Government was coming down, trying to get rid of Providence. And he says, you know what God did? We prayed. We prayed and we got rid of them. One person, just like the next day, they decide to become a Buddhist monk. How crazy is that? And you're a government official. There is nothing more powerful than prayer. And if you really, really care about something, like to that extent, you should be praying in tears and not praying for 5 minutes for it. It should be something so deep in your heart and your mind. That's how you know how much you care. But if you get lost in it, you're going to be doing too many physical things, giving money or doing this or doing that. Nah, prayer is going to be everything. I'm not saying, like I said, I'm not saying it's not. Don't do it. I'm not saying that. I'm saying nothing will be more powerful than prayer. All right? So I hope that this kind of opens our eyes once again, because this is something that we're all watching all the things happening around the world. We all see it, right? And that's something that we have to kind of take as people who are brides of God, and how do we really want to deal with these things, okay? So that leads us into, I want a song about love today. And there's this movie that I watched a long time ago called Moulin Rouge with Nicole Kidman, Ewan McGregor. They got some great songs in it. Like they take pop songs and they make it into like a musical. But there's that last finale, and the song is called Come What May. And I think this is a great love song between us and God. And it's Come What May basically means whatever comes, I will love you no matter what. And this is sung by Ewan McGregor and Nicole Kidman. You don't think they're good singers? They're excellent and great. So let's listen to this song, Come What May, from the Moulin Rouge soundtrack.
Never knew I could feel like this, like I've never seen the sky before. Want to vanish inside your kiss. Every day I love you more and more. Listen to my heart. Can you hear it sing, telling me to give you everything? Season
days may change, winter to spring, but I love you until the end of time. Come what may, come what may, I will love you until my dying day.
Suddenly the world seems such a perfect place. Suddenly it moves with such a perfect grace.
Suddenly my life doesn't seem such a waste.
It all revolves around you.
And there's no mountain too high, no river too wide. Sing out this song and I'll be there by your side. Storm clouds may gather and stars may collide, but I love you
I love you
till the end
until the end
of time. Come what may, come what may, I will love you until my dying day. Oh, come what may, come what may, I
Suddenly the world seems such a perfect place.
come what may, come what may, I will love you until my dying day.
Oh, I love that song. Oh, you guys got to check out that movie, Moulin Rouge. I love that movie. It's really inspiring, but the whole thing is about love. From beginning to end, it's all talking about love, 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 love. So, yeah, go ahead and check out that movie, Moulin Rouge. But yeah, if you want to see a song about love, kind of a song between like God and man. It's very interesting, but yeah, you got to take a look at it. But it's very, very good. Good love story. Cool. And that brings us to a new section today. Well, not a new section actually, because we know what's coming up next, which is stories, right? And we have a very cool story today. We have Karen Smith in Vancouver, and she has a testimony, right, of being healed. Testimony of being healed. So I hope that all of us can really kind of relax our hearts and our minds and just really listen to this testimony well. This testimony is how I diligently kept taking action upon Sunseem's words until it ended up healing me. December 1st, 2015. I was in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada, doing my master's. I was still a newcomer, hadn't passed yet, but I was the only Providence person on that side of Canada. And I still worked diligently to do my pre-dawn. I listened to the weekly messages by myself. My family was 3,600 miles away. That December morning, I suddenly got stomach pains. The pain was so unbearable that I spent most of the time in bed. I just curled up in pain. I prayed, but it didn't go away. The next day, still in pain. I started to eat just a little bit, but there was so much pain. So I decided to start setting a prayer condition until the pain went away. Now here are the key points needed for this story. The first wave of pain lasted 60 days straight. I had a 40-day prayer condition set. I went to 2 different doctors, but they had no idea what was going on. 1 month into the pain, I came back to Vancouver. I went to my family doctor. I got a referral for an ultrasound on my stomach and other organs, but I had to wait until April for the appointment in Halifax. There's just no room in Vancouver or Halifax hospitals for ultrasounds because it wasn't a priority. In the end, everything seemed normal, but I was still in pain. I was distracted from my studies as I was in pain for hours at a time. I was tested for celiac disease in February and lactose intolerance in July, but thankfully I didn't have either. But I still had no idea what was wrong. I just want to point out one thing, how everything that happened always happened in threes according to God's timings. Like I wrote to Sunseams 3 times over the course of 7 months. I had to wait 3 months for an ultrasound. I went on 3 different medications. I changed my diet 3 times. Right? I was in pain 200 out of 240 days, just shy of 7 months. You see, I prayed a total of 100 days for the pain to stop with 3 different prayer conditions set. On July 10th, 2016, I was back in Vancouver listening to the Sunday sermon, and we were hearing the message about miraculous signs. And at the end, Sunseam said that, "I want you to be healed, so be healed." I refocused during this part of the message, and I prayed to God, asking to be healed. Later that afternoon, I went home. I read the Sunday message 4 times. I made a summary sheet. I extracted 21 proverbs, and I took action right away. 2 days later, I went to get a lactose intolerant test where I drank a cup of lactose. See, I haven't had lactose for like 5 months at this point. And then I had like 5 blood tests. And it turns out that drinking the solution gave me no pain. Then I realized that I was healed. Hallelujah. After 7 months of pain, 8 months total, I was finally healed from this unknown stomach pain. Since I did all my responsibilities of praying, taking action upon the Sunday message, getting the necessary medical tests done, I wrote Sunseam letters, I was finally healed according to God's timing. I am truly thankful for all that Sunseam has done to help pray for me and the stomach pain. Through taking action upon the words of God, I can safely say that by taking action, God's words do come to be true. If anyone else has pain or a sickness, I believe that if you keep taking action upon the words of God, given every day to us because of the Lord, and keep praying, that one day you will also be healed. All I can say is that God works according to His timing, and we never know what that timing is. Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, Karen, for that amazing story of healing, putting the words into action and prayer, setting conditions. And honestly, I think 8 months is pretty short time. Well, I guess it wouldn't be short if you're in that much pain. But 8 months is actually a pretty short amount of time. And I know that a lot of us out there need some type of healing too. A lot of us out there need to, get better from certain, could be viruses or diseases. But we all know that when we hear these testimonies, people get healed. Sometimes it's on the spot. Sometimes it takes a month. Sometimes it takes a week. Sometimes it takes a year. Sometimes 10 years. But we know that God is listening to all our prayers. And I hope that us too, whatever you're going through, don't be discouraged, don't be dismayed. The thing that matters more than the disease, the thing that matters more than all these things, we have to think in our hearts and our minds, right? If we were to not believe because this virus won't go away, if we were to stop believing and leave this history because I have cancer, then we don't really realize how great rapture is, how great this history, great salvation is. For everything we have here is temporary. Everything we have here, it goes away. But the glory, the love, the joy, the peace that we get when we go to heaven is eternal. No matter what happens, even as Paul lived with this pain in his side, and God would not take it away. But it would not stop Paul from believing, and it wouldn't stop Paul. Even when he got flogged like 5 times, was it 4 times? 5 times of 39 lashes, he still believed. That is someone who understands how precious and how valuable salvation is, how rapture is, how valuable the words are. So I hope that us too will be able to understand at this level too. All right. So I hope that you guys are really enjoying the show today. Sorry, right after that song, just played that song from Moulin Rouge. There was a silence there because my mic was on mute. Sorry. It was on mute. I was talking and I was like, wait a second, I can't hear anything. And I realized, it's on mute. All right. So I hope that all of you guys will have a wonderful, wonderful Monday. Enjoy the time. Enjoy all the things that we see, but know that we live in a history where God is looking after us, protecting us, and we got to be thankful every day.
Gotta let go. Gotta let go. And let it happen. And let it happen.
Yeah,
Believe in yourself and believe in somebody.
gotta believe in yourself. Cause no one else will.
You, the people, have the power to make